No one could have predicted that one day a man from the Caucasus Mountains would descend upon the UFC and conquer the lightweight division. And we especially couldn't have predicted the kind of dominance we would witness, and that Khabib Nurmagomedov would retire undefeated and forever cement his name in the GOAT conversation. His career was built on hard work, and he got nothing without merit. So let's take a ride through Khabib's journey, and the similarities between his first and last fights are hard to believe until you see them with your own eyes. "20-year-old Khabib began his MMA journey with a fight against Beneil Bayramov in Ukraine. They were participants in the CSFU Championship Tournament, and that evening, his opponent already won one fight with a technical knockout in the first round. It was time for him to try the same with the young Nurmagomedov, and right at the start, he punished him with low kicks. After the 7th low kick, Khabib decided to take the fight where he will achieve the best results in the future. The Eagle showed how easily he can take down an opponent and only needs to grab one joint to land him on his back. By the time Beneil realised what was happening, Khabib was already in full mount position. The Azerbaijani fighter hit his head well to save himself from a possible ground and pound. But he could not save himself against the triangle submission that Nurmagomedov locked with the speed of light. Instead of a tap out, Bayramov fell asleep, and Khabib's hand was raised for the first time ever, marking the beginning of an incredible career. Just remember how that fight went, you'll see why later. The young Eagle had a long way to fly to reach the UFC. However, he decided to accelerate his flight and finish his opponents in the first and second rounds in the next 3 years. He also warmed up in style, winning the World Sambo Championships 2 years in a row after his debut. But after a perfect record of 16 wins, it was time to go outside the borders of Eastern Europe. When the phone rang, the UFC called, and Khabib was more than happy to answer. He was about to make a difficult debut against Iranian fighter Kamal Shaloris. With a white pupper cut on his head, Khabib made his first walk to the infamous octagon. So young that even his beard had not fully grown. He was not even a shadow of a fighter he would later become. He looked like he did not belong there and barely knew how to box or kick. He missed his opponent more times than he hit him. But when he did, Shaloris found himself on his back and the situation completely turned around. For the next 2 rounds, Kamal had a hard time keeping the fight on his feet due to Khabib's relentless wrestling. The Eagle outstruck him, outgrappled him, and held him down for 6 minutes total. Iranians thought things couldn't get worse, but unfortunately for him, he was wrong. In the 3rd round from an awkward position, Khabib squeezed the rear naked choke and showed everyone his Dagestan strength to get the win. The UFC lightweight division fighters had no idea what horror and suffering awaited them with a new name on the roster. But soon, all of them would find out. Khabib learned that nothing comes easy. Not even the UFC title, which took him 10 dominant victories to get. The biggest names in the MMA world were falling under his pressure. RDA, Johnson, Iaquinta, McGregor, Poirier. And other unfortunate lightweights could not solve the Dagestan riddle. His lightweight reign lasted only 2 years, but the way he defeated his opponents were never seen before. But the defining moment in his career and life happened in 2020. It happened unexpectedly. It happened to the dismay of the whole world. Abdulmanap Nurmagomedov, the father and trainer of undefeated UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov, had died in Moscow. The fighter's manager Ali Abdulaziz confirmed to ESPN on Friday. The elder Nurmagomedov had been hospitalised in Moscow since May, when he was diagnosed with the coronavirus. He also underwent heart surgery for pre-existing condition further complicated by COVID-19. Khabib made his last walk in October 2020. It was in a fight against interim champion Justin Gaethje, and Khabib ended his career the same way he started it. Just like in the fight against Beneil Bayramov, he received several painful kicks on the leg, where his toe was broken just 17 days before the fight. But a huge difference can be seen in Khabib's skill when we compare him to his first UFC fight. The highlight had problems working from a distance because the last thing he needed was Khabib around his legs. However, it had to happen. Fortunately for him, it happened 40 seconds before the end of the first round and he got saved by the bell. This was the first time in any of Justin's fights that someone put this much pressure on him. On the other hand, Khabib said that no one hit as hard as Gaethje. Khabib ate several bombs and sharp kicks, and it was enough for him to know what to do in the next round. He did his calculations and entered the second round with a winning game plan. After a minute of chasing the opponent, Nurmagomedov shoots for the legs and puts Gaethje in the Dagestan press. The Eagle had a clean armbar, but this is where the size of his character shows. He knew Justin wouldn't tap and didn't want to break his arm in front of his parents in the audience. Instead, he applied the recipe from his first MMA fight, locking in a triangle from the full mount and putting Gaethje to sleep. Imagine being so better than others that you can show compassion and choose a winning method in wild cage fighting. But while everyone was waiting to see who he would call out next, something unexpected happened. The undefeated Khabib did everything he could for his father, and now that he's gone, he wanted to do the same for his mother. His promise was to never step foot in the cage again, and this was the last time we would see the Eagle in flight. The news surprised not only the fans, but also his head coach. I learned about it when he was giving his speech, Mendes told Submission Radio. My jaw dropped. I was like, what? I mean, he played the best poker face on the planet. All of this was a total shock to me. I was going, oh man, father's plan, great. But mother's plan works in the end as his mother's wish for him not to fight without his father. And that's what he did. And you know, respect.